K-Man Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area weather forecast this afternoon. Cloudy with a high near 30 and a northeast wind around 10 miles per hour. Tonight there's a slight chance of drizzle or freezing rain at about 10%, mainly between midnight and 4 a.m. Tomorrow, a chance of that drizzle or freezing rain before 1 in the afternoon, then more of a chance between 1 and 5. Chance of precipitation currently at 30%. Tomorrow night, patchy freezing fog after 4 in the morning. Thursday, sunny skies with a high near 45. It's currently 27 degrees out as we are getting set for hour 1 of the game on News Radio KMAN.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
It honestly feels weird to be opening up this show and using this kind of language to describe K-State basketball on the men's side playing tonight at Arizona State. The question is tonight a trap game? KU was able to prevail last night over the Iowa State Cyclones. Iowa State is broken. I think they switched places. They switched bodies with K-State. And it was a bad night in Allen Fieldhouse, so K-State will be coming into the game Saturday against K-State with a victory. K-State wants a 4-game winning streak. But tonight they'll be visiting the Arizona State Sun Devils. Their record is 12-9 on the year, 3-7 in Big 12 play. The Cats are 10-11, but they have an opportunity tonight to get back to a 500 record, be 5-6 in Big 12 play before round 2 of the Sunflower Showdown in Bramlage Coliseum Saturday at 1 o'clock. Welcome to the game. We are live with you until 6 o'clock. Pre-game coverage doesn't start until 8 here on K-Man. Tip-off at 9 from Tempe, Arizona. So it's Big 12 After Dark, and coming up later on this hour at about 4:30, we'll be joined by Arizona State beat writer from the Arizona Republic, Michelle Gardner. I want to get her thoughts on what took place this last Saturday. Bobby Hurley calling Arizona classless. BJ Freeman was ejected from their game against Arizona in the last minute after headbutting Caleb Love. Caleb Love was also ejected. I'm not even sure, honestly, what the status is tonight for BJ Freeman. I have not seen anything of like an article, a headline, or anything about him being suspended for this game. I always thought the rule was if you're ejected from the game, you miss the next game. I mean, from what I understand with TJ Toppin and Grant McCaslin of Texas Tech, they're good to go for the next game. I believe it's typically under review now from the conference. But we'll check in with Michelle at about 4:30. Of course, Jabroni of the Week, it's Tuesday. So we'll have that to end hour number 1. We're debuting a segment today that'll last through this week. It is Cole Deutschendorf's Super Bowl 59 report. He's got the scoop of what the Chiefs are talking about, the latest storylines leading up to Super Bowl 59, which we will have coverage here on K-Man Sunday between the Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. MitchPom at 5:10 against Arizona State, plus K-State has announced its 2025 football schedule. We will dissect that thing. We will go over it, break it down, and share some thoughts coming up at about 5:30. Tonight at 9, it's K-State and Arizona State. 10th meeting all-time. Arizona State does lead the all-time series 5-4. Is tonight a trap game? Because K-State's won 3 in a row. They're playing their best basketball. If you look at the advanced metrics, I'm going to give you some more numbers here in just a moment. K-State winning their 3 straight. They've done so in extremely impressive fashion. And according to the advanced metrics, K-State playing the best basketball compared to anybody else in the country right now. That's what the numbers are saying. And I'm going to break down some by the numbers for K-State these last 3 games in just a moment. Colts, does tonight feel like, as K-State's about to play a team that has lost 6 of the last 8, they've had a little bit of injury issue lately. BJ Freeman has now been kicked out of 2 games in the last month. KU is on the horizon on Saturday. It feels weird to even be saying trap game What's the overall feeling for you? What does your gut tell you about tonight's game?
It's funny you mentioned the trap game part of it, where if you would have told me approximately 14 days ago that K-State would have a quote-unquote trap game, or even the potential for them to have a trap game, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have probably called you dumb, among other things. I feel it's been kind of the sentiment of, especially the last couple of weeks, but kind of how I've been throughout this stretch, even when K-State was losing, cautiously optimistic. You get the feeling that, yes, obviously Iowa State, best win of the year by a country mile, and for them to follow up their 2 wins against Oklahoma State and West Virginia and have that kind of performance in Ames was obviously huge. And you can't, even if they go down to Tempe and lose to Arizona State, you still can't take that loss away from them, or that win against Iowa State away from them. And I think that they could still, continue some of the momentum that they've showed the last couple of games. But I feel good about this game, which is the first time I felt decent about a game. I guess the Oklahoma State game, but outside of the Oklahoma State game, it's the best I felt about a game since non-con, probably pretty easily. And against a team that's kind of been reeling, they definitely, and I think Coach Tang has this team locked in right now. I think if there was going to be a letdown game, it might have been against Oklahoma State after they thrashed West Virginia the previous game before. And he kind of mentioned it about having that really crazy practice on Monday or whatever, about he wasn't going to let them, rest on their laurels, so to speak. So I think Coach Tang will have them ready. It's just going to be a matter of if K-State can head west and maybe adjust to some of the things I've been playing later than they have this year, and put together a full 2 halves, a full 40 minutes, as we've seen them do the last 3 games in a row.
You brought up an interesting thought. How comfortable do you feel heading into tonight's game is another thought as well, minus the trap game aspect, which I certainly think there is. Because Arizona State, yes, they're struggling in Big 12 play. Before Big 12 play, they won a lot of non-conference games. They had 2 losses. They lost to Gonzaga and Florida, which if you look at where, I don't think Gonzaga is anymore. Are they still the top 25? They just lost to St. Mary's the other night. Gonzaga doesn't feel like Gonzaga. St. Mary's is a really good team, but Florida's really good. They are a top 10 team. They're one of the best teams in the SEC. They're just not as productive. They're not as, offensively, their numbers aren't as good in Big 12 play. Defensively, they're still decent, but not as good in Big 12 play. And K-State is playing flipped in the script kind of basketball in a positive way these last 3 games. But how comfortable I am, got to remember this game is on the road. K-State, as of this past Saturday, before that had lost 15 in a row to all different kinds of teams. But the team is different now. They proved a lot to me on Saturday that this kind of momentum, this kind of play, this kind of point guard play from Doug McDaniel, this consistent play, just stuffing the box score from Coleman Hawkins, aggressive play on both ends from Max Jones, Brendan Hazen shooting the ball and being a better defender, and David Gasson not having to be the best player every game proved a lot to me on Saturday that K-State can sustain that kind of play. If you go on the road and beat, even though Iowa State, that 3-point 60-footer from Caleb Love kind of broke them. Their feelings got hurt. They have not been the same team, and they're not performing on a high level as Iowa State, and they're one of the favorites to play and win a national championship. But they're still on the road in Big 12 play, and as the season continues, if they keep winning, they just keep proving more and more. So even if K-State, listen, for me, it's win by any means necessary at this point. You're playing with house money. You're trying to make a Cinderella midseason comeback. It's extremely tough to do in this conference. And we looked at the schedule yesterday. It's like, if K-State continues to play like this, they could win all these games. They're playing that well. But it's a 3-game sample. Is it enough to you to feel comfortable with a game like this? I'm not 100% comfortable. But I am comfortable. It's kind of weird. Probably the most comfortable, with the exception of the Oklahoma State game, since non-conference play. Probably since Arkansas Pine Bluff. Because after that I think that was after St. Joseph's or St. John's rather, and just those debacles that K-State had in non-conference play. This is the best I've felt about K-State basketball for a while, about going on the road in somebody else's gym and going to win a game. Let me give you some K-State by the numbers for this 3-game winning streak, because the advanced metrics say one thing. I think you can even simplify it and just look at the averages and be like, wow, K-State is playing it at a high level right now. Because if you just look at points scored, you're looking at 80 points per game, and K-State is winning these games by 20 points a contest. Their field goal percentage over the last 3 games is 48.2%. Their field goal defense is 37.6%. K-State shooting the 3 ball is my favorite number right now, because over the last 3 games, 47% shooting 3-pointers. Their 3-point defense the last 3 games, 31%. A 16% difference in the 3 ball is incredible. K-State is forcing turnovers at a high level, 16.3 per game. Steals are at 11 a contest. And K-State's been doing all this. Their 2-point shooting numbers have actually dropped. And that's been decent for them this year. But they've dropped over the last 3 games. What have they done with their 2-point shooting defense, which has been good this year, honestly? Compared to the country and where K-State's been ranked all year, which has been pretty much actually in the top 60, I mean, heading into tonight's game, K-State's 2-point defense, 47.5%. But over the last 3 games, 40.9%. That's a very sizable jump. K-State had their largest leads in this game, 19, 26, and 32 points in the last 3 games. In 120 minutes, K-State has led in 104 of them. And look at the scoring. Hawkins, in the last 3 games, averaging 14.5, shooting 45%, 50% from 3, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals per game. Incredible. Great balance all over the stat sheet. Doug McDaniel, man, what a surge he has made. 15 points, 43% from 3, 6 assists per game. Brendan Hausen, 13 points a game. He's 53% from 3. Max Jones, 13 points a game. 60% from the floor. 70% from 3-point range. And again, David Gasson does not have to be the best player, but he's still scoring 10 points and shooting 58% from the field. It's almost fair to just say that the ball is just going in the hole more. They're more efficient from the field. Offensive and defensive efficiency are both up. And they're scoring more. Tonight is a trap game. But K-State's playing consistent basketball that we haven't seen all year. But it was basketball we thought they could play at the beginning of the year. They're starting to meet those expectations. And even in some areas, surpassing some expectations. But can K-State stay consistent with another road game playing back-to-back with KU on the horizon? This is one of those textbook trap games. I'm not always the biggest believer of a trap game, but if there is going to be one this year, and if K-State continues to play good basketball, tonight's that night. When 5 days down the road, you still have KU to play. And 4.
And you mentioned it. This is a team that before Saturday had not won a true road game since last year in January this time. I think it's super important to realize that, especially in this conference, but also just with the track record of this team, it's been a really good home team and then a not very great road team. If they can string together, it would be 4 wins in a row, and I think even maybe more importantly, 2 true road wins in a row, when they haven't done that in a very, very long time. So I think if they can continue that momentum, but as you're saying, not look ahead to, it's KU coming to Bramlage. But if you can stay in the present and continue to play with the intensity and the effort and the attention to detail that they've pretty obviously been playing with the last couple of games, I think that's going to bode well and just continue to bolster the team's confidence overall.
I mean, these are 2 teams tonight that aren't necessarily deep. Arizona State, they actually have, it's interesting, they have 6 players that average double figures in points, but none of them average more than 12.6. So you're looking at 10 to 12.6 per game, 6 players that are going to do the heavy lifting. They average from 25 to 36 minutes, and one of their players, their best three-point shooter, hasn't been the same since his ankle injury. 2 of their 3 Big 12 wins are against Colorado. There's just so much that can add up for you of just what have you done for me recently. K-State is by far and away the better team on paper. But will old K-State, I say old as in 2-3 weeks ago. Let's go back further than that. They were showing improvements in the games 2 or 3 weeks ago. Let's say
Houston K-State.
Houston before Houston in the end of non-conference play. If just a little bit of that creeps up, it's probably a different story. And I know KenPom thinks this is going to be a close game tonight. MitchPom, we'll see. Coming up at 5:10, what MitchPom thinks of K-State at Arizona State tonight. But keys to the game. It's not that simple. Do what you've been doing. Continue to be aggressive. Hit your shots. Keep the pressure on defense. They found a formula that works for this team. And believe it or not, it's not too little too late. But I will say, if they waited a little bit longer, it's probably too little too late. It's kind of waiting last minute to do your homework.
It's like 11. It was 11:50 in the season, and they had barely opened their homework, waiting to turn it in before 11:59.
Yeah, you're almost the halfway point of Big 12 play. You have one game won, and you're still not winning on the road. Here come a couple of teams that aren't scoring very well. Can he get it done? You're thinking close games. Nope, K-State's just going to blow them out. And they've finally put the pieces together because Jerome Tang had to simplify things probably a little bit too much, but it's what had to be done. And it's working. So I'm just saying, NCAA tournament, still extremely slim to get there. But I will say it's not impossible.
And 3 weeks ago, it felt that way.
It was impossible 3 weeks ago. Now there's a very small percentage. Right now, it's 2% chance. I can't map it out for you what it's going to take for K-State to get there. Wins. There you go. That's your treasure map. Leading up to that X is a bunch of W's. A few L's in there, yeah, you're going to get a little bit off track. But it's the Big 12. There's a lot of Q1s in the area. I have to go look. I'm not sure if Arizona State is K-State's on the road. I would think that that's a quad 1 opportunity. That may not be a quad 1 at the end of the year, but it'll be a quad 2 at best. Or at least. I'll put it that way. So it still would be a quality win, which, by the way, that Iowa State win was K-State's first quad 1 win of the season.
It is a quad 1 game for K-State. The next 4 are quad 1 games.
And by the way, Arizona State's played one of the toughest schedules in America. Their strength of schedule is top 10. They have played 8 or 9, maybe 10 quad 1 games this year. They're just not doing very well in those games. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. Speaking of Arizona State, we have MitchPom at 5:10. We'll take a look at K-State's football schedule at 5:30. When we come back, we check in with Arizona State beat writer Michelle Gardner and get her thoughts about tonight's game. Strengths, weaknesses on Arizona State, plus her reaction to B.J. Freeman, their best player, being ejected last Saturday because of a headbutt. That's next on The Game.
You're listening to The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Dollars spent locally today help build a better community for tomorrow.
WTC Fiber Internet is on its way to all of Manhattan. Sign your home or business up today at WTCKS.com. No contracts, no data caps, or overage fees. Fast, local, reliable. WTC Fiber Internet. Sign up today at WTCKS.com.
Midwest Ace, around the block with what you need in stock with people who know how to help. Shop in-store or online for whatever your home or your yard needs. Choose from top brands like Milwaukee, Steel, Traeger, and Benjamin Moore. Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks.
Connect to anywhere in the world with 5 daily flights to Dallas and Chicago when you fly local with Manhattan Regional Airport. You'll spend less time driving, saving you gas and time. And more importantly, you'll get home quicker to the ones you love. Click your next flight at flymhk.com.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Find more great local businesses plus special deals and offers when you keep it local on our website.
Can you help me access my work computer now that I'm working from home?
We can do that. Is it possible for you to troubleshoot my computer without me coming into your store? We can do that.
I'm getting messages that my password's been compromised by hackers.
We can.
And that I have malware installed.
We can.
I don't even go to the mall.
We can do all of that.
Fox Business Systems business level support. We can do that.
Call 776-1452 or stop by 531 Fort Riley Boulevard. WeBuildSolutions.com.
Get your morning started with KMAN's Morning News.
Coming up on Wednesday morning's edition, we look back at the City Commission meeting. Another adjustment expected for a development in Aggieville when they meet on Tuesday night. In sports, the K-State men on the hardwood against Arizona State. It's a late night affair. We'll have the rundown for you on Wednesday morning. Also, previewing K-State's women's basketball tilt against TCU, a battle of the Big 12 leaders coming up Wednesday night.
KMAN's Morning News, weekday mornings, 6 to 9 on News Radio, KMAN.
The Native community is big for me. Makes me feel good to pass on our Rapo traditions. My kids love going up to the Sundance. I like to tell people the Sundance is about family. It's about the tribe. It's not just about the dancer. It's kind of like life. As a Sundancer, I'm just one spoke in the wheel. I need my family there. I need my role models. I need my people there, especially my children. You know, coming in that door, my family is ready to see me and they believe in me. Before, I'd never seen that from my people. But now when I walk in that door and I see those smiling faces and they're happy to see me, that's special. With my 4 kids, all I ask for them in Arapaho ways is health and happiness. Nothing more, nothing less.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm E.J. Williams for American Humane. For thousands of years, dogs have been our best friends in our worst times. Today, we're also learning that our best friends, millions of whom are abandoned each year, are often the best medicine when people are facing obstacles. To help both people and animals, organizations like American Humane have been working to harness the healing power of the human-animal bond, finding animals in need of forever homes and training them as life-saving service and therapy dogs to help our veterans, the elderly, and children overcome the daily obstacles of life. In this way, the rescued can become the rescuers. To find out how you can help give animals and the people they help a new leash on life, please visit AmericanHumane.org.
I'm Cole Deutschendorf with a game sports update. K-State's football schedule was officially released along with the rest of the Big 12 this morning. It will feature what looks like a very difficult start to the year in an overseas battle with Iowa State and Ireland to start the season in a Week 3 home contest against an Army team that went 12-2 and won the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl last season. The Cats will only play on Saturdays next year after playing against Arizona on a Friday in the 2024 season. They'll also only play back-to-back on the road one time in the season, coming in late November against Oklahoma State and Utah. The Sunflower Showdown will also be on the road this year. The regular season will culminate with Senior Day against Colorado on November 29th. A full schedule including dates for K-State and the rest of the Big 12 can be found on 1350kman.com. K-State men's basketball puts its 3-game winning streak on the line tonight as the Wildcats visit Arizona State for Big 12 after dark. K-State had one of its most impressive wins of the season, snapping number 3 Iowa State's 29-game home court winning streak at Hilton Coliseum with an 80-61 win on Saturday. The 19-point margin of victory was the largest ever for a top 5 team on the road. Arizona State has lost 6 of its last 8 games, and they're coming off an emotional loss to rival Arizona 81-72 on Saturday. Tip-off at 9 p.m. from Desert Financial Arena, pregame at 8 on KMAN and 101.5 K-Rock.
Cole's Super Bowl 59 report coming up at 5:40. We'll take a look at K-State's football schedule for 2025 at about 5:25, and MitchPom will feature and preview Arizona State tonight, taking place in Tempe. Tipping off at 9. Pregame coverage is at 8. And speaking of that matchup tonight, we are pleased to be joined here on the game by a very special guest. She is a beat writer for the Arizona State Sun Devils for the Arizona Republic. Michelle Gardner now joins us on the game. And Michelle, I really appreciate your time. First, real quick on football. I mean, it was shocking enough as a Big 12 team to watch a team who was picked to finish dead last win the whole conference. How shocking was that in Tempe in Coach Dillingham's second year?
Stunning. I mean, that's literally the only word I can use to describe it. I thought coming into the season, if they finished 6-6 and made a bowl game, that would be significant progress. And I think the fan base was kind of thinking the same way. And obviously, it was so much more. And when you look at the coming season and the schedules just released today, I've got to think they're the favorite. They're going to return 18 of 22 starters, if you can believe that. And they did not lose a single player on the 2 deep to the transfer portal.
Wow.
So I think that says a lot about A, the culture Kenny Dillingham's built there, and B, their NIL has come a long way. Now, I don't think it's on par with some of the top teams, but it's at least in the ballpark, and players really like playing for Kenny. And this was a very, very together group. And I know that other teams came after Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson with a lot of money, and they want to come back.
How in the world do they replace Cam Scatterbo?
That's a good question. You know what? And when you look how much, I mean, who in America can't root for Cam Scatterbo? I mean,
right.
Really. They've got a running back coming in from Army. He's had the bulk of the yards in Army. And I think he's probably going to be the workhorse, and I'm told he has kind of the same running style as Cam. I think the more important thing is the leadership standpoint and that passion, that intensity. I mean, you want to go with Cam Scatterbo. Like, who's going to be the guy in the locker room that's going to motivate the guys? Who's going to be that force that motivates them? It's not just his on-the-field contribution. It's what he does in the locker room. So I think that's the biggest question. But, like I said, when you've got a quarterback coming back, they played with a freshman quarterback, so obviously he's going to be much better. Now there are expectations. So for the first time in a very long time, ASU has expectations. And it's easy to play when you can play we're the underdog, we're the misfits. Everybody thinks we suck. Like, it's one thing to be able to play that card. Now you're going to be the team on top everybody's going after, and that's a whole different mindset.
Yeah, no kidding. Arizona State not on K-State's schedule this year, but I'll never forget leaving the game at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Arizona State fans felt like that win was the launch pad for what was to come in winning a Big 12 championship and representing the Big 12 in the college football playoff. Michelle Gardner is our guest. She's an Arizona State beat writer for the Arizona Republic. So now switching to basketball, I was watching this past Saturday, the Arizona State-Arizona game. Dramatic ending. Arizona State's up double digits, and then here comes the headbutt B.J. Freeman to Caleb Love. It's already a rivalry game. That ramps it up a little bit more. And Freeman gets ejected. So did Caleb Love, and Bobby Hurley was not too pleased in postgame. Have you ever seen Bobby Hurley like that before?
Oh, every game. I mean, that's him. I mean, that's Bobby. That's his intensity. And it's kind of funny because, you look at his brother at UConn, he's the same way. They're cut from the same cloth. It's a little bit different when you're winning the national title, though, and when you're 500. So, you can get away with that when you're Dan Hurley, maybe not as much if you're Bobby Hurley. But the funny thing about Bobby is fiery as he is on the court, and obviously that's one thing that made him a great player. He's very chill and very mild-mannered off the court. I know that's probably hard to believe. But yeah.
Well, what was your reaction to B.J. Freeman getting ejected? Was it just chaotic there in the arena afterwards?
Yes, and it always is. I mean, I hate to say it. I hate when the teams play because it's just annoying. You know that something annoying is going to happen one way or another, and it's such a bitter. The fan bases hate each other so much. It's just kind of a pain in the butt, if you know what I mean. Sometimes it's just like that. Freeman didn't need to do what he did. I think he was definitely wrong. Now, Bobby said that there was constant chatter and verbal warfare going back and forth, and that his player just kind of got fed up. That's fine, but you got to be better. You got to be better. I mean, so what if they're trash talking? You've got to be better. And it's going to be worse when ASU goes down there because now Arizona knows that they can push their buttons. So if you're ASU, you've got to learn not to respond, and you've got to learn to be better. So that'll be interesting.
Now, I always thought, and I haven't seen anything reported about this, that if a player is ejected, they miss the next game. Is B.J. Freeman going to play tonight? Do you know?
I haven't heard that he's not. Now, I don't know exactly the rule on that, and I ought to check into that. But I've seen situations with that with basketball, and the player hasn't, and it hasn't necessarily been an ASU player, but it hasn't been an automatic sit the next game. So I don't think so. I could be wrong on that, but I think if he was going to sit, I would have heard by now.
Yeah.
Or somebody would have had it out there. So I don't think so. Something like that would be critical for ASU, though, just because Bobby only plays 8 players. And Saturday, he only played 7. So, I mean, I think he's got a talented, 6.5 guys, but they just don't have any depth. And, how is this going to be when you get later in the season or when you get in the tournament and you're playing back-to-back or possibly 3 nights? I got to think that that's going to take a toll. And I think one of ASU's biggest things is the depth. And the other problem that the team has had is turnovers. And I wonder how much of that is, guys are just exhausted because they're playing a lot of minutes.
Yeah, and you could tell by just looking at the season stats for Arizona State, they rely on their top 6 guys, and a couple of them are freshmen, and I mean, top freshmen too. I mean, guard, I apologize if I mess up his name. I could not find a pronunciation guy, but Josan Sanin.
Yeah, that's right. You got it.
Nailed it. Great.
You did that right.
Well, he's a really good three-point shooter, but there at the beginning of Big 12 play, he dealt with an ankle injury. He missed games. He just hasn't been the same since. Did that ankle injury, was that an issue for Arizona State's season?
Oh, big time. He is such a great shooter. Bobby has said he's the best shooter he's ever coached. I mean, and he doesn't even need a lot of room to get that shot off, and he got hurt in the BYU game. So I think he was out 3 games, played 1, and then was out 2 more. So he basically missed 5 out of 6. And he literally has not been the same player since he came back. Now, there's also a book out on him. People have film on him, too. So now you've got to adjust. So he definitely hasn't been the same since he came back. But the other true freshman, Jaden Quaintance, he's really amazing. Y'all are going to have to really watch this kid play. He's 17, and when I say he's 17, he's barely 17. He won't turn 18 until July.
Wow.
So when he got on campus, literally it was July and he was 16 still. So he is a true freshman, and he is the youngest player in college basketball by 6 months over Cooper Flagg. And he's the only player in the country that's not eligible of the draft because of his age. But when you look at him, he doesn't look like a 16, 17-year-old kid. He's built physically like a man. And early on, his ball handling and his offense were kind of slow to come around. He can defend any position on the floor, and he changes shots in the lane. But his offense has really, really come around. And he's got really the potential for this kid is it's the sky is the limit. And then the other thing about the kid is when I talked to him, I did a big story on him at Media Day. His hobbies are chess and reading.
Okay.
Okay, so you know that this kid's got a lot going on, and he's very well rounded, I guess is what, so yeah, he's going to be interesting to watch over the next year. That big question is, will he stay at ASU? Or will somebody, he can't go in the draft, he's too young, but is some other school going to throw more money at him?
So, Michelle, are you saying your hobbies are not reading and chess?
I like to read. I don't have time to read.
I hear you.
But yeah, I know he's just, when you get a kid like that, and I asked him, because all basketball isn't video games, or don't they all play Madden or whatever, right? So I asked him about that, and he said, yeah, and he said he likes video games, but the problem is he's so competitive that if he starts, he can't stop. So he said he'd rather not deal with it during the season. That's what he told me.
You know what, Michelle, it's funny because you mentioned he's 17 years old, and when I think back to when I was 17 years old, I was probably the exact same way. The most competitive video game player you could find, so I know where he's coming from. Michelle Gardner is our guest, Arizona State beat writer for the Arizona Republic. Just a couple of more questions. You've touched on a couple of things on players individually. Weaknesses, turnovers. Does this team together have a strength? What's the top strength?
You know what? I think they shoot the ball so much better than they did last year. Now, the averages have come down a little bit, and Sandin, before he got hurt, was over 50% from three. So they shoot the three much better than they did last year. And the one thing about this team, and it infuriates some fans down here, is the old saying is no shot's a bad shot. So they've had teams in the past where the first guy to dribble across midcourt would just jack up some three-pointer, and you're like, can't we work for a better shot? You're shooting 30% from three-point range. Shouldn't you work for a better shot? Well, now they don't have to because they've got legitimate big in the paint. So they do a much better job than the teams he's had in years past of working for a better shot. But I think the strength is just that they have a lot of guys that can shoot it. I think Adam Miller has been the best guy of late as far as long-distance shooting. So I think that he's another guy to watch, too. So I would say that they shoot the ball a lot better. Now, I say that, and they'll go out and hit 20% from three today. Just watch. But I think they shoot the ball much better. They score a lot more. But the big bugaboo has been the turnovers. Mm-hmm. And the turnovers, at one point, and I think they're averaging about the same, maybe a fraction of a point difference, but 13. They're averaging 13 assists and 13 turnovers, which is never a good thing. But a lot of the turnovers are not necessarily the younger players. The guys that Bobby went and got from the portal, they're seasoned players that have played a lot of games. And one I'm thinking of is Bashir Jihad. He's been a turnover machine. And he shouldn't be. He's a veteran player that's played a lot of college basketball. So it's kind of mind-numbing, the amount of turnovers that they've had. And even against Arizona, they did much better in that regard. They only had, I think, 4 in the first half. So we're thinking, okay, they're making great progress here. And then I think they turned it over 10 times in the second half. There they go again. So I think that and the rebounding, they rebounded a lot better. For most of the year, they've rebounded much better than they did last year. They were one of the 3 worst teams in Division I basketball rebounding last year. But when you've got a guy like Jaden Quaintance, obviously that's going to help those numbers. So we'll see what happens. I think rebounding is a key, and turnovers for ASU are the keys.
Michelle Gardner, our guest. So last question, I want to talk about the environment because K-State's going from Hilton Coliseum, winning by 19 in one of the more hostile environments you'll find in college basketball. It's one of the tops in the Big 12, along with Manhattan, Lawrence, of course, Lubbock. Unaware of what Desert Financial Arena could be like tonight. That's a new place. K-State, I don't think they've played there in a long time, or at least in Tempe for a long time. What do you think the environment will be like tonight?
You know what? It's really hit and miss. It depends on how well the team is playing. And it's a Tuesday night, too. So, and they're coming off a bad loss. I don't know what to expect, quite frankly. Tempe is a very different kind of market because, this isn't Manhattan where you're the game in town and the whole town revolves around you. When you've got every sports franchise here, if you're not a winning team, people are going to look elsewhere people are going to spend their entertainment dollar elsewhere. This is not a college town. So it's, when you look in the Big 12, the one thing I think that we've all seen is these are college towns, whether it's Manhattan, whether it's Stillwater, whether it's Lubbock, Iowa State, most of these teams are in true college towns. And ASU is kind of the opposite, where they're not. I mean, even University of Arizona, that's in Tucson, and they literally don't have anything else down there either. So, and especially coming off a bad loss and one that the way it ended soured a lot of people, I honestly don't know what to expect tonight. They've drawn pretty well for most of the season. The exception being, I think, 1 or 2 games when the kids were away. I think the early January games when kids were still away. So I honestly don't know what to expect, but I don't chalk this up to a real intimidating atmosphere just because it's not your typical college town, if that makes sense.
Makes plenty of sense to me, and I'm kind of with you as well, even though these two teams are trending in particular directions. K-State still has a lot to prove, and they're still on the road in Big 12 play, so we'll see what happens. We're tipping off at 9 o'clock Central tonight, so it's a late one for us Kansas folk. But, Michelle, I thought this was a great conversation. I really appreciate your time, and I hope to chat again with you down the road. Really appreciate it.
Well, I will actually just book my trip for Manhattan when ASU plays there. And, the other thing that I found, too, which is kind of almost annoying, we got spoiled in the Pac-12 because the trips were so easy.
Sure.
You could go to L.A. and play 2 schools, and it was always a Thursday and Saturday. You could go to Cal and Stanford. You could go to Oregon State, and pretty much you could fly into a main airport and get a nonstop flight. The travel in this conference is legitimately difficult. It's legitimate. As somebody that's dealing with it for the first time, it's difficult. I can't even get a nonstop flight to Kansas City.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, it's not one of the bigger international airports in Manhattan. Manhattan only flies to Dallas or Chicago, so it's layover is all over the place. We're just kind of in the middle of nowhere, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I like I said, and we all knew coming into the Big 12 the first time this year that it was going to be a big experiment, and it was.
Well, I hope you still have a very positive experience when you come up here in a few weeks for the home game here at the Octagon of Doom. But, Michelle, really appreciate it. Good conversation. I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
And I could say this, too, that my trip to Kansas State for football was the best trip of the year.
Good.
It was
good.
No, it was phenomenal. Everybody at Kansas State was of help. Easy access in and out of the stadium.
Yep.
The fans were great. The stadium was great. So just from a logistics standpoint, and I've talked to other reporters about this too, that Kansas State was, top of my list as far as trips that I've had to make.
You gave me a thought here. Did it feel like you're a lot closer to the field with the lower press box? I feel like the one in Tempe is way up there.
It is way up there. Yes, it is. But I think that's also the older stadiums like Tempe, the press boxes are way up there.
Yep.
But yeah, no, like I said, Kansas State was other than the fact it was a late game, and by the time I got back to my hotel, it was about 3 a.m. because it was late. But other than that, the Kansas State football experience was phenomenal. I can't say enough about, the help that I got there and how well it went on the part of the Kansas State folks.
Always love a positive review on Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Thank you very much, Michelle.
Anytime.
That's Michelle Gardner, the Arizona State beat writer for the Arizona Republic. Let's take our last break of hour number 1. Jabroni of the Week is after these words.
Your home for K-State sports.
Goose spotted and clear. They make a man miss. And it's easy. Touchdown, Kansas State. And the Cats get closer to the conference championship.
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Are you tired of being brushed off by your doctor? Have you seen specialist after specialist convinced something's wrong, only to hear your labs look fine? Here's an antidepressant. Are you ready to be heard? Ready to invest in your health and find the root cause of your issues? I'm Dr. Reagan Tilley, and I started Whole Health MHK because I was frustrated too. At Whole Health, you'll be listened to, and your input will always be valued. We will work together to get to the bottom of your health concerns. To set up your appointment today, call 785-775-1155 or visit wholehealthmhk.com.
If Kansas weather has taught us anything, it's to be prepared for everything. It's time to call M&S Plumbing, Heating and Air to make sure your furnace is ready. From full safety inspections to replacing your furnace, M&S Plumbing will keep you and your family warm this winter. If it's been a while since you've had your furnace serviced and inspected, be sure to call and schedule your appointment today. Simple fixes now can save you big money later.
Call the experts who care.
Original Influencers, influencing for over 60 years, and discover how you can turn your passion for media and sales into a rewarding career. Manhattan Broadcasting is looking for creative, hardworking individuals who have a passion for helping businesses grow through traditional and digital marketing platforms. Qualified candidates should be creative, great at building relationships, and most of all, success-driven. Apply now at the top-rated media company, Manhattan Broadcasting. Send your resume to jobs@manhattanbroadcasting.com. Our client success is your success.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area weather forecast tonight, calling for cloudy skies and a high near 30. The overnight low at 26 with a chance of drizzle or freezing rain mainly between midnight and 4 a.m. That chance currently at 10%. Tomorrow, a chance of drizzle or freezing rain before 1 p.m., then a slight chance between 1 and 5. That's at 30%. Tomorrow night, patchy freezing fog after 4 in the morning. Thursday, sunny with a high near 45.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! You jabronis hit the jackpot!
That Hollywood blonde jabroni, Hulk Hogan.
Ow! Is this jabroni's name?
Jabroni of the week.
As we do it on Tuesdays, we finish hour number 1 with crowning a brand new jabroni of the week. If you don't know how this works, you're going to find out real quick. It's easy to follow. Today I'm going to do just 2 dishonorable mentions, and I'll culminate with my jabroni of the week. Plus, it's one of those rare segments I can always use the word culminate. I think that's a great word. My first dishonorable mention is going to go to KU head coach Bill Self. Got to do it again, man. Back-to-back weeks. Just a heartbreaking kick to the testicles. I mean, that's as simple as I can put it, because, I mean, KU was dominating at Baylor on Saturday. And they led by 21 points. First half, it looked like they were just going to cruise to a win. And then here come the Bears. A 60-point second half. And K-State with their largest blown lead in program history. Think about that. Largest blown lead in program history for KU took place on Saturday. Losing to Baylor. After leading by 21, they lost by 11. 81-70. The final score, again, 60 points in the second half for Baylor to pull off that victory. And just previous to that, losing to Houston in double overtime, thanks to those 2 3-pointers in the last 12 seconds of the first overtime to tie the game. The previous blown lead, record-wise for KU, was a 20-point lead that was given up to number 1 Arizona. It was 20 points, January 27th. Of 2003. My last dishonorable mention is going to go to referees Bert Smith, Tyler Kumpf, whatever, and then Justice Shamian, because of what happened at the Texas Tech Houston game. TJ Toppin was ejected before the first media timeout. He was jumping in the air to pass, and I think it was 100% an accident, but it appeared to accidentally kick a player from Houston in the groin. And TJ, JT Toppin, after he threw the pass, he was just playing on, and then he saw the guy on the ground, and he just didn't realize he did something wrong or accidentally did something. Anyway, here's a timeout. They're going to the huddles. Referees are reviewing it. They called it a flagrant 2, and Toppin looked completely shocked. And then after watching the replay, it looked like one of the most ridiculous F2 calls I think I've ever seen. I thought it was absolutely the wrong call, and it's my least favorite call of the season.
It was real bad.
Simply put.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But I want to save a couple of minutes for this, and I'm going to let you take the reins on this, Cole, because this was a recommended Jabroni of the Week, and I agree. Well, from what you've told me, I agree. Mm-hmm. Dallas Mavericks general manager Nico Harrison for trading 25-year-old Luka Doncic to the Lakers. In exchange, they get, among other things, but 31-year-old all-star big man Anthony Davis. You take this. Why is this Jabroni of the Week?
Well, first of all, there's just no context for this happening. This has just never happened in the NBA, where just out of the blue, a team trades their young cornerstone superstar talent to a different team. I mean, it's happened twice, you could say, with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He requested a trade, and it was Wilt Chamberlain was the other one. That one was not great, but this one is bad. It's really bad for the Mavericks to trade. He's 25 years old, Luka Doncic, literally took them to the finals last year. And the main concerns was his conditioning.
Guy put on a few pounds.
Defense, among other things. But those were the main two that were cited by Nico. And you could have made those same complaints last year when he averaged 33 points per game, 9 rebounds a game, 9 assists per game, and led your team to the finals, where defense wasn't your problem. They played decent defense against literally one of the best offenses of all time in the Boston Celtics. It was offensively where they were struggling, and for you to trade him away for Anthony Davis, respectfully, Anthony Davis is a great player, one of the better defensive players maybe ever. But he's 32 years old, or about to be 32 years old. He's aging, not gracefully. He's a great defensive player, but he's injury prone. You're trading for someone who you don't know if you can consistently rely on him being available because of injury. So you're putting all that pressure on Kyrie Irving, who's never been a great first fiddle. He's always been a phenomenal, all-time great second fiddle to LeBron, to Luka last year. Words literally cannot explain how bad this trade was. Outside of this season or the next season, they've mortgaged their future.
As we wrap up hour number one, I'm not a follower of the NBA at all. But even I am educated enough to know that when that came across the timeline at 11 o'clock Saturday night, that it's a huge trade, maybe the biggest in NBA history, and it felt really one-sided. Just because I had heard a way more about Luka Doncic in the last few years than I had Anthony Davis. And there's probably a pretty major reason for that. And I thought you just did a good job of explaining why, of how bad, and maybe the worst trade in NBA history and the biggest at the same time. All right, that's going to wrap up hour number one. Hour number two, MitchPom versus Arizona State plus K-State's football schedule revealed. Details all coming up in hour number two of the game next.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's new construction or expansion, our team simplifies complex projects. We build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit McCownGordon.com.
Suicide is often a silent struggle, but no one has to face it alone. If you or someone you love is feeling hopeless, remember, there is help and there is hope. Reaching out is not a sign of weakness, it's an act of courage. Together, we can turn pain into healing and despair into strength. Help is always available. Visit Pawnee Mental Health's Crisis Stabilization Unit at 1558 Hayes Drive or call our crisis hotline at 1-800-609-2002. Both available 24/7. You don't have to face this alone. Help is just a call away.
Manhattan Broadcasting is an equal opportunity employer. In order to widely publicize our job opportunities and outreach programs and organizations that regularly distribute employment information to the job seekers or refers candidates to employers, please contact us about our employment contact list to receive the most current information about station vacancies. For more information or to be added to the list, please call Manhattan Broadcasting at 785-776-1350. Visit us at 2414 Casement Road in Manhattan, Kansas, or email frontdesk@1350KMAN.com.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen on News Radio KMAN.
Artificial intelligence. Should we fear it? Embrace it? Local cybersecurity expert Dan Strom joins us Wednesday.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen. Weekday mornings at 9 on News Radio KMAN. What? You want more? You got more. More of the game coming up next on News Radio KMAN Manhattan.
Weather on News Radio KMAN is brought to you by Sunset Zoo. Memberships are a fun way to experience the zoo. Pick up your membership and enjoy the Sunset Zoo all year long.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area weather forecast. This evening, cloudy with a high near 30 and a northeast wind around 10 miles per hour. Tonight, an overnight low of 26, overcast skies and a northeast wind from 5 to 10 miles an hour. A chance of drizzle at 10%. Tomorrow, chance of drizzle or freezing rain before 1. Slight chance between 1 and 5. Wednesday night, patchy freezing fog after 4 a.m. It's currently 27 degrees and overcast. Back to hour 2 of the game on News Radio KMAN.
It is hour 2 of the game after work. Mitch Fortner and Cole Deutschendorf with you until 6 o'clock. We do not start pregame coverage until 8, folks. 8 o'clock sharp. Wyatt Thompson, Stan Weber in Tempe, Arizona. The Cats at Arizona State. Going to tip off at 9. Big 12 After Dark. Probably not going to like me saying that later down the road, K-State will have a 10 o'clock tip-off. That is still to come. But that's not tonight, but it's still Big 12 After Dark. Cole's Super Bowl 59 report number 1 of 4 this week. We'll be coming up at about 5:40. We'll take a look at K-State football's 2025 schedule announced today. We knew the opponents, but the dates, the schedule has been laid out, and I got a few notes for you coming up here later on in this hour. We'll have MitchPom here in just a moment. First, I wanted to touch on something put out there by K-State Baseball earlier today. I saw it on Twitter at K-State BSB, and it's definitely the coolest thing I've seen today. So K-State announced that they're going to be bringing back a uniform, and they're going to wear it this season. And I'm not going to lie to you. It may have just become my favorite uniform.
It is clean.
It's super clean. Purple jersey, white pants, purple cap, but it's the jersey. That's the throwback part of it. And this is radio. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's a purple uniform, cursive K-State across the chest with out of the E. It comes right back underneath K-State. It's got a Willie logo on basically by your left kidney. Or wait, kidney's back here. Whatever, your left side, below your left set of ribs. And what is special about this is K-State wore these uniforms back in the late 70s, early 80s, when head coach Dave Baker took over and became the first ever black head coach in Big 8 history, Big 12 history, first ever black coach. And Dave Baker, who still lives here, comes to all the games. I was very fortunate to meet him last year. As a matter of fact, he came up to me and he said he appreciated my work, and I was kind of in awe because I'd never met Coach Baker before, and it was an absolute pleasure, and it was just even better for him to compliment me. I was not around for his days of coaching, but he is a legend. He is a trailblazer. D. Scott Fritchen put out a great article today, and also on top of that, yesterday, I think it was after K-State had our media day yesterday with us, that he showed Coach Baker the uniform that they're bringing back, and it is awesome. Like, I am not a uniform, I don't buy uniforms and wear them. I want this one, and I never say that. It's that cool. It's one of the best throwbacks I've seen. It's that cool. It's a hell of a design. K-State simplified a few things about it. It's not like the exact replica, but it's still pretty sweet. So at Mitch the Fort on Twitter, I retweeted everything. Coach Hughes presented the jersey to Coach Dave Baker earlier. That was yesterday. A really cool moment. You could tell Coach Baker was really speechless and very thankful for that gesture from Coach Hughes and that K-State staff and the K-State team heading into 2025. Later on this week, we'll have more of a, and maybe actually next week we'll see what we have time for. But we'll definitely have a K-State baseball preview. later on as they start their season. Gosh, I think it's next week. It's already next week. That's crazy. But anyway, with that, basketball tonight, K-State, Arizona State. Can the Cats win their 4th game in a row and continue to turn the season around in blowout fashion? Let's make a prediction.
Here's MitchPom with tonight's prediction.
Is this a trap game? I think it can be. I think it is. With K-State winning 3 in a row, KU is the next game. You're on the road against a team that's not doing great. I think it is that kind of game. Arizona State will enter this game as the favorite by 2.5 points. K-State 10-11 overall, 4-6 in Big 12 play, winners of 3 straight by an average of 20 points per game. Arizona State 12-9 overall, they're 3-7, and they have lost 6 of their last 8. 2 of their 3 Big 12 wins have been over Colorado, the worst team in the Big 12. Everybody's beating them. And they're coming off an 81-72 loss to Arizona at home. Not long ago, though, they did break their own 15-game road losing streak. And they got it done in Morgantown, beating West Virginia 65-57. That was a couple of weeks ago. All right, the Sun Devils, they have played according to all the strength of schedule people. That Arizona State has played the 6th toughest schedule in the country. They have played 8 Quad 1 games. This is not one of those games, although K-State is skyrocketing up the net rankings. All right, overall, Arizona State leads the all-time series 5-4. First meeting in the Big 12 era. In Tempe, K-State is 1-2. And the last meeting was actually in Vegas back in 2017 with Arizona State winning by 2, 92-90. All right, here's the team breakdown on defense. First, for Arizona State, 5th worst in the Big 12 for head coach Bobby Hurley. He's Dan Hurley's brother. And 5th worst in the Big 12, 73 points a game they allow. They're okay at first, forcing turnovers, 11.5 a game. Just 5 steals per game. It's one of the worst numbers in the country. And the Sun Devils, however, this is where they're best at on defense. They're only allowing 29% from the three-point line. That is 3rd in Big 12 play. K-State 6th in Big 12 play at shooting the 3 at 35%. Just 1 in the last 5 games has a team shot better than 33%. On Arizona State. So that's a big factor tonight. Against 2s, Arizona State, not bad. Not too bad. Not as good as K-State. 97th in the nation at 48.5%. To the offense of Arizona State, they are right behind K-State in scoring at 68 a game. K-State just held one of the best scoring teams, however, to 61 points on their home floor. Another key. Obviously, K-State wants to score more points. Right next to K-State in three-point shooting at 33% in Big 12 play. They do shoot it a lot from the arc. 43% of their shots have been from the three-point line. 2-point shooting is just over 50%, slightly in the bottom half of the Big 12. Offensive rebounding, kind of just like K-State, about 10 a game. So there's another even mark for these offenses. Now, we spoke with Arizona State beat writer Michelle Gardner in the first hour. A really great interview. Go check that out once we get the podcast up. Just search for The Game on 1350 K-Man on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. She gave us great stuff about Arizona State, and she said this multiple times. They are bad at turning over the basketball. They turn it over way too much. And what has K-State done recently? What have they done extremely well during this 3-game stretch? Pressure on the basketball, swiping at the basketball, getting steals, 11 a game. They have forced nearly 17 turnovers a game in Big 12 play in these last 3 games, I should say. In Arizona State in Big 12 play, confident up 15 times. They had 18 the other day against Iowa State in a 5-point loss. Another big key. All right, players tonight. Arizona State, 6 players scoring double figures for the season, and they rely on these 6 guys. It doesn't go too much deeper than that. 5 in double figures during Big 12 play. Nobody averages more than 12.8. It's either between 10 and 12.8. Milwaukee transfer 6'6" guard B.J. Freeman. We haven't heard anything. He was ejected in their last game against Arizona. He's their best player, 12.6 points per game. And that's overall this season. League play, almost 15 points a contest. Decent shooter. 4 rebounds, 3 assists per game. But again, he's been ejected twice now in the last month. His buttons can be pushed. I don't have any detail on how much trash talk K-State does game in and game out. Ball State transfer 6'9" forward Bashir Jihad, another solid player, 12.5 points, 6 rebounds per game. He's like their David Gasson of the team. Not the best three-point shooter. Can be a bit turnover prone. 6 turnovers in 2 of the last 3 games. Now, top 25 freshman guard Josan Sanin. Solid player, but he hasn't been that solid player lately. 12 points a game this year. He's a 43% three-point shooter. However, playing in the last 3 games, he is not as sharp. 6.5 points per game, 21% from 3. The reason is because, well, before these last 3 games, he has dealt with an ankle injury. He missed 5 of 6 games. He has not been the same player. Arizona State has not been the same team with him banged up. Missouri State transfer 6'2" point guard is Alston Mason. He's averaging 3.5 assists per game, scoring 11 points a contest, a good 3-point shooter. Top 10 freshman recruit Jaden Quaintance, I believe is how you say his last name, and he was brought up specifically by Michelle Gardner in our first hour. He is aggressive on defense. Aggressive. He blocks shots. He averages 3 blocks a game, 8.5 rebounds, and he's actually making on offense 60% of his twos. He's good around the rim, but he can be a hot and cold player. I'm going to leave it at that. I think we can just get now to the keys of the game, and I mentioned a bunch of them, but just based on statistics, I think K-State's going to be able to force a lot of turnovers. Can Arizona State make Arizona State pay for their mistakes? And K-State has done a really good job, especially with the points off turnovers against Iowa State. And right now, K-State averaging 16.5 takeaways in the last 3 games since K-State's been winning and steamrolling teams these last 3 games. But K-State needs to continue to attack, and I think that's key number 1. Continue to attack. Be aggressive. They've been so much better at it, and they've been smart with the basketball. Getting the ball to shooters. This could be another one of those, you need Brendan Hansen to hit some shots. But remember, Arizona State does have a bit of a better 3-point defense. So K-State moving the basketball will be key. The dribble drive will be key. Can they get efficient play inside the arc? And I think they will. Now again, trap game, it's just what the papers say, right? It's a trap game because K-State's won 3 in a row. Arizona State, they've lost 6 of the last 8, but K-State has KU on the horizon on Saturday. Is K-State locked in after winning 3 straight games? I think they are. Arizona State trending in the wrong direction. K-State absolutely better than anybody else right now in the last 3 games is trending in the right direction, but I think it is a closer game. MitchPom does not say K-State wins tonight. It's a 35% chance with Arizona State winning at 72-68. I am picking K-State to win. I'm giving K-State a 60% chance of winning tonight. Again, remember, it's on the road, Big 12 play. I think there's still a lot to prove, but they did prove a lot Saturday at Iowa State. Now, is K-State still consistent? Are they staying balanced in their scoring? Is defense still as good as we've seen the last 3 games? I'm picking K-State to win. I think it's a little higher scoring than for K-State. I'm picking the Cats to win it 77-71 at Arizona State tonight. Again, the final score, Cats 77, Arizona State 71. All right, let's take a timeout, and when we come back, we take a look at K-State football's 2025 schedule, notes, the breakdown, fun little trivia as well, next on The Game.
This poor man is crying. Why? He missed the game. You know, you can always check out The Game podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and at newsradiokman.com.
In a world that thrives on connection, the power of community leadership is more important than ever. In just 90 minutes on February 11th, starting at 7:30, the annual 60 and 60 Leadership Breakfast presented by BriggsAuto.com, the Manhattan Mercury, and the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce will take place at the Manhattan Convention Center Hilton Garden Inn. An inspiring morning filled with knowledge, connection, and empowerment. Bill Snyder and 5 other leaders of our community will present their company's most successful programs, provide tools and ideas that you can use to grow as a leader and as a company. Tickets can be purchased online at tickets.themercury.com/events. Attendees will receive 60 ideas in an exclusive supplement package that will give you the knowledge to grow personally as well as professionally. 60 in 60, February 11th from 7:30 to 9:30, presented by the Manhattan Mercury, the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce, Bayer Construction, The Trust Company, BriggsAuto.com, and News Radio KMAN.
Stormontvale Health is your go-to for exceptional care right in your own neighborhood.
The Flint Hills campus in Junction City is open 24/7 with a full-service hospital and rural health clinic. You'll find primary care and advanced lab services at our Wamego clinic to keep your family healthy without the drive. Our Manhattan campus offers a wide range of primary and specialty providers, plus imaging and lab services, and a pick-me-up at Radina's inside our campus. Visit stormontvale.org.
Stormontvale Health. High-quality care closer to home.
The Ramsey Show.
The problem is the stupid banks will loan you so much money that they put you in bankruptcy because they don't have an off button. They'll just loan you money. You know, you can go get a credit card, you can go on a trip you can't afford, you can go down here and get a car. You know, there's actually people out there walking around that still think that if the bank will loan it to you, it means you can pay it. The same people that think if you have checks left in your checkbook, there must be money in the account. Same people.
Life and money advice. The Ramsey Show. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. Hungry kids get sick more often and can struggle in school. It can be harder for them to focus and learn. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures.
We want to ensure that all of our kids have healthy meals every day.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping feed our kids.
To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
I'm Cole Deutschendorf with a game sports update. K-State's football schedule was officially released along with the rest of the Big 12 this morning. It will feature what looks like a very difficult start to the year in an overseas battle with Iowa State in Ireland in a Week 3 home contest against an Army team that went 12-2 and won the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl last season. The Cats will only play on Saturdays next year after playing against Arizona on a Friday in the 2024 season. They'll also only play back-to-back on the road one time in the season, coming in late November on the road against Oklahoma State and Utah. The Sunflower Showdown will also be on the road this year. The regular season will culminate with Senior Day against Colorado on November 29th. The full schedule, including dates for K-State and the rest of the Big 12, can be found on 1350kman.com. K-State men's basketball puts its 3-game winning streak on the line tonight as the Wildcats visit Arizona State for Big 12 After Dark. K-State had one of the most impressive wins of the season, snapping number 3 Iowa State's 29-game home court winning streak at Hilton Coliseum with an 80-61 win on Saturday. All 5 starters scored in double figures for the first time this season. Arizona State has lost 6 of its last 8 games. They're coming off an emotional loss to rival Arizona 81-72 on Saturday. Tip-off will be at 9 p.m. from Desert Financial Arena, pregame at 8 p.m. on KMEN and 101.5 K-Rock.
Shock the system.
It's a WWE theme, actually NXT, and 3 of the 4 guys are now in AEW. The game continues. Mitch Fortner and Cole Deutschendorf. Cole, huge Kansas City Chiefs fan, is going to give us his first Chiefs Super Bowl 59 report coming up at 5:40. K-State football 2025 schedule is out. We'll get to that here in just a moment. K-State basketball, of course, coming up tonight here on K-Man, and that begins at 8 o'clock for pregame coverage. It is Big 12 After Dark here on the old Command, and tipping off at 9 o'clock from Tempe, Arizona. K-State taking on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Of course, we'll have full reaction tomorrow. We got K-State Online coming on. Hopefully, still working out the details, but we'll have the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holtis, will be joining us tomorrow at 4:40 as well. I want to remind everybody, you've probably been hearing commercials about this, the annual 60 in 60. It is 60 ideas in 60 minutes, and we invite you to come and be inspired by 6 community leaders and have worked hard to make their workplace one of the best to work at in Kansas. You will grow as a leader and as a company, and among all of our speakers, the feature speaker, Bill Snyder, former K-State football coach. Bill Snyder will be speaking. And that's going to be a week from today, Tuesday, February 11th, starting at 7:30. And tickets are only $30 a person on how to become a better leader for you and your company, to learn a whole bunch of stuff. Just $30 to get in the door, unless you are a subscriber to the Mercury, and then you're getting in for $25. Registration begins at 7:30. The event begins at 8 o'clock at the Manhattan Conference Center here in town, of course. Again, that is a week from today. So go get your tickets at themercury.com. Okay, 2025 K-State football schedule. You know, I'm not hearing anybody... K-State again starting Big 12 play on the road. Nobody's saying anything this year. I wonder why. Well, it's because it's in Dublin, Ireland. The Aer Lingus College Football Classic on August 23rd, taking on the Iowa State Cyclones. Game 2 is going to be that next Saturday on August 30th, taking on North Dakota. All right, trivia question time. When's the last time K-State played 2 games in the month of August?
It's probably it seems like it should be forever ago, and I'm a little bit worried about that turnaround, thinking about it right now.
Well, Chris Kleiman talked about how those that had played these kind of games in Dublin or whatever all recommended to play a game that next week.
Oh, really? Did he explain why? Or just that's kind of what the consensus
just to keep your
been?
minds right, get focused and get ready for the next game. No, not spending too much time in Dublin. You remember it's a business trip, and get back and just keeping the flow of things.
That makes sense. I'll throw out like 1999.
You're actually not that far off. I don't think you were born yet. August of 2003.
I was not born yet.
K-State won the Big 12 championship, and then those 2 games they played in Arrowhead against Callan, one of the hottest days on record. And then Troy State, now known as Troy, was in town to play a game against the Cats that following Saturday. So 2 games in August, first time in 22 years that'll be taking place. But that North Dakota game is the first meeting between the Cats and North Dakota. They were 5-7 last year. They'll play that next Saturday on September 6th against Army. And it's the first time playing Army since 1987. Army, they were good last year. They won the American. They finished 12-2. Their losses were to Navy in the Army-Navy game and Notre Dame, who, of course, played for the national championship and lost. Wrapping up the non-conference will be a game at Arizona on September 13th. And then you get into, Big 12 play once again. But after that fourth game, K-State will have their first of 3 bye weeks. 3. And I got to say, I like it. I like 3 bye weeks during the year. Talk about guys needing to get healthy. K-State's not necessarily the best off a bye week under head coach Chris Kleiman. But after that bye will be a game against UCF at the Bill on September 27th. One big question about that. Will Scott Frost be wearing a hoodie? He shamed his Nebraska players for those that went out and wore hoodies during warm-ups on a cold day in West Lafayette, Indiana. And then what does he do? He wears hoodies on the sideline in September. Will he wear a hoodie? He's back as the head coach at UCF. And then back on the road in October on the 4th at Baylor. They're back at home that next Saturday in the 11th against TCU. All right, so bye week, 3 games, your next bye week. And then as I mentioned earlier, not the best has Chris Kleiman been after bye weeks. You know who that next opponent is after the second bye? The Kansas Jayhawks. KU will also be coming off a bye, and the Cats are going to be looking for their 17th consecutive victory on October 25th. Next game is on a Saturday, hosting Texas Tech on November 1st, and then the third bye week. And then you're down to the home stretch with 3 games to go. November 15th at Oklahoma State, back-to-back road games. November 22nd at Utah. And I like this a lot. K-State is wrapping up the regular season, senior night, or senior day, at the Bill on the 29th against the Colorado Buffaloes. Deion Sanders without his sons. Or maybe one. The oldest one likes to do his filming thing and get into players' faces. They'll be coming in on November 29th. I've been hearing a lot of people and reading a lot of people saying that this is a backloaded schedule. And I somewhat agree, but here's the deal. How this looks on paper, it's most likely going to be drastically different. Possibly when Big 12 play starts, when regular Big 12 play starts, you get a couple of games in, things are going to be different.
It's the same way that this year's schedule, this
year was
schedule
chaotic. It was chaos.
Before the season started, you were like, okay, this shouldn't be too difficult. And then you ended up playing 4 of the top 5.
K-State played the toughest schedule in the Big 12 but they didn't play. Who they not play? I can't remember who they didn't play. There was one team that they didn't play, but they played everybody else, in like the top 7.
They didn't play
of the Big
Baylor?
12. Actually, did K-State play TCU? No, they didn't. So Baylor and TCU, those are 2 teams that surged at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. They just kind of backdoored their way into a top half spot in the conference. That's kind of how I base this off, though, just based on how this looks right now. To me, this actually isn't backloaded. It's kind of middle-loaded. I mean, after Iowa State, which, honestly, K-State right now, the way the schedule is laid out, the toughest game of the year is week 0 against Iowa State because the Cyclones will most likely be a top 3 pick in the Big 12 preseason standings. I would say K-State right now is a 4 in the Big 12 standings. And then above those 2, I think Arizona State is one of your top 2. And then just by what I know about them, I'm basing this actually on returning players and for how good their defenses were for most of the year, for the most part, with their talent. Arizona State and actually BYU is returning a ton of talent from this last year, and they're plugging in pieces out of the transfer portal. I could see those 2 as well being in the top 4. K-State will not play Arizona State or BYU in the regular season. So next, by pecking order, just in my brain, is Iowa State. But in the middle there, you have Baylor, TCU, KU, UCF. I mean, those 2 teams combined for a record of 19-18 in Big 12 play. And then looking at Colorado, Utah, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, they win a combined record of 15-22. The tough one there is, I think, Texas Tech. I think they have the most momentum of those previous three I mentioned with the Cowboys, Utah, and Colorado, because Oklahoma State and Utah had tremendously disappointing seasons. And they both have to do a lot of work to figure it out. More so Mike Gundy than Utah. Mike Gundy has to basically push the reset button. A lot of portal, and of course he's even, because of such a poor year going 0-9 in Big 12 play, he's donating a ton of his money to ensure that they got some funds to go get some troopers, go get some dudes to kind of reset Oklahoma State football. Utah's going to have a new quarterback. Colorado, new quarterback, no more Travis Hunter. Who knows what Colorado's going to be? They recruited well, but we'll see. And I would imagine Deion Sanders will have another good team. I just don't know how good they're going to be. That's really hard to tell. Meanwhile, you look at the middle of the pack for K-State, Baylor, TCU, KU, Texas Tech, UCF. They're all returning for the most part, with the exception of maybe UCF. I don't know what they're exactly going to look like. But everybody else I just mentioned, they're returning a ton of pretty solid players, and they're all returning their quarterbacks from last year. There's a lot of quarterbacks returning this year for the Big 12. BYU is coming back. Sawyer Robertson is coming back. Rocco Becht is coming back. What's his face from TCU is coming back. Jalen Daniels for KU is coming back.
Sam.
I'm sorry.
Levitt.
Oh, of course. But K-State's not playing him. But you're right. He is returning. So is Jordan Tyson. So is 16 of their other 20 starters for Arizona State coming back next year. They just have to – that's the one question. How to replace Cam Scattervoo. I think Arizona State might be the favorite in the Big 12 this year to repeat, but I don't think they will. So with that, that's basically it. I think it's right now middle packed and then kind of gravitating towards the back end. Texas Tech, that's going to be, I think, a really tough game on November 1st. Just the way things are laid out right now, there's going to be two probably really solid teams this year. And that's going to be a battle. I think playing KU, playing Texas Tech, and then potentially we'll see what Oklahoma State is. That could be very, very well the toughest. I don't know what TCU and Baylor, they do have plenty of returners coming back, especially a quarterback. But with that backdoor comeback on the year, I think they beat some bad teams to get to that spot. They were just a little bit better than what I thought the regular season record would be. So, but again, this schedule is going to be different once you get the season started, and we're going to look at it a lot differently. And maybe it will be a backloaded schedule once we get there in 2025. The full schedule with more detail can be found at our website, plus along with every other Big 12 team schedule. NewsRadioKman.com. Go find out where everybody is playing. The Big 12 did not schedule like the SEC did, where they just front-loaded all the big games and kept the chaos in the first few weeks. It's very well scattered by the Big 12 like it was this past year. When we come back, Cole Deutschendorf's first of 4 Super Bowl 59 reports is next after these words.
Your home for K-State sports. Underneath. Blocked by Sundell on Gaston. Final few seconds on the fray. Walker, three-pointer. Got it! This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
For half a century, glyphosate has affordably and effectively protected Kansas farmers' crops from invasive weeds. Without it, the impact would be felt beyond the fields, hitting Americans where it hurts, our wallets. That's why the Modern Ag Alliance advocates for farmers continued access to essential crop protection tools so food prices don't rise even more. Get the facts at controlweedsnotfarming.com. Paid for by the Modern Ag Alliance in support of Kansas farmers.
Few people choose to go into a nursing home. However, many people feel more independent when they no longer have to rely on family and friends to take care of them. When that time comes, consider visiting the Leonardville Nursing Home. Their dedicated staff will provide your loved one with the dignity and respect they deserve, offering interesting activities and a home-like environment with private rooms available. Call them today at 293-5244. Leonardville Nursing Home. They care.
As the seasons change, our commitment to severe weather doesn't. No matter the time of year, we always keep you informed. Severe storms, flash floods, tornadoes, even blizzards. We track every storm to give you accurate, up-to-date information. We're always watching so you don't have to. News Radio KMAN, your trusted source for severe weather updates. When the storm hits, we've got you covered. Powered by Candlewood Veterinary Clinic, Manhattan Wrecker, Hummel Tree Service, and Tall Grass Windows.
Super Bowl 59 is on Westwood One.
The Philadelphia Eagles are headed to New Orleans.
Now the Chiefs are on the doorstep of history, going for a third consecutive Super Bowl.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Graham. Join Kevin Harlan, Kurt Warner, Laura Oakman, Gene Steratore, Devin McCourty, and me for all the action right here.
Coverage of the Chiefs and Eagles gets underway at 1 Sunday on News Radio KMAN.
Out here, in the middle of all these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. And sometimes, that's how it feels when you're going through tough times. Stress builds up, you have trouble sleeping, maybe your mind is racing and you just don't feel like yourself. So what do? We get help. Lots of people are struggling with their mental health. It's more common than you think. The good news is, there are people in our community who are here for us when times are tough. Sometimes, just talking to someone can make all the difference in the world, so we don't feel so alone. One thing you can do is visit loveyourmindtoday.org for simple steps you can take to find the right solution for you. Whether it's hearing stories about what other people are going through, or finding the resources we need to navigate the stresses in our lives. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area weather forecast. Right now, overcast and 27 degrees with a real feel of 18 because of that wind. Tonight, a slight chance of drizzle or freezing rain, mainly between midnight and 4. That chance at 10%. Tomorrow, a chance of drizzle or freezing rain before 1 in the afternoon, and that chance continues on between 1 and 5. That chance at 30%. Tomorrow night, patchy freezing fog after 4 a.m. Thursday, sunny with a high near 45.
You know, one more thing about the schedules being released. Everybody does these videos now of like it's either emojis or like K-State. They're like feeling things to guess what the game is on the schedule. So like all these big guessing games. I'm not a big fan of those because I just feel like a lot of the time it just makes the players look dumb. You know, like especially with some of the games that like. Who was it? Cincinnati had one.
It was Bowling Green. It was literally bowling balls, a green sign, and then the Eagles. And he said Bowling Green Eagles, and was just like, who could it be?
Yeah, it made the players look really stupid. Like and poor, who was it? Was it Damien earlier? Like he had like one guess was Alabama. I'm like, no, we're not playing Alabama this year. Are we not aware of who's on the schedule before these videos are done? I don't know. I think it makes people look bad.
Nothing will ever beat it was the Tennessee Titans released video like 2 years ago where they just went onto the streets of Nashville and were showing people the logos.
Yeah, it was a K-State, I think a grad. I can't remember her name, but she was like the one responsible for that. Yeah.
And they show them the mascot and they're just throwing out the most random guesses because they're just not NFL people.
That was good because those people aren't associated with the team. They're just strangers, you know. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority on that. Maybe I'm being too soft or whatever, but
I'm okay with them. I think they can. I like having a little bit of creativity for those schedule releases.
Well, over 6,000 members of the media were credentialed for Super Bowl 59 in the coverage for this week. We didn't try to get credentials. It sounds like they'll credential anybody for these like midweek things. We're keeping the reports in-house, and Cole Deutschendorf is a super fan of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to give us a report out of New Orleans every day, number 1 of 4. Cole, take it away, your Super Bowl 59 report for Tuesday.
You know, it's actually been a pretty quiet start to the week, both for the Chiefs and for the Eagles. The biggest piece of news yesterday was Chiefs owner Clark Hunt talking about Andy Reid coming back this year. I'll play that audio real quick.
Yeah, I was always surprised when I heard those rumors because I know how much fun Andy's having. In a lot of ways, I think it's rejuvenated by the success the team's had. And I know he loves what he's doing. I know for a fact he's going to be back next year.
And Andy Reid confirmed that again today with his press conference. He will be back coaching the Chiefs again next year. He's the second oldest coach in the league currently. He's 67 years old. He was the oldest before a couple of weeks ago when Pete Carroll was hired for the Raiders out of Las Vegas. He's under contract till 2029. I personally don't think he's going to hang it up anytime soon, and I don't know why he would when you have Patrick Mahomes at the helm of your offense. As long as you have him, you're going to be in the playoffs and competing.
And he's not far away, like 50-something games from becoming the all-time winningest NFL coach ever.
Yeah, just recently eclipsed 300. I think he's at 301 now after the Bills win last Sunday. And as you said, he's bearing down on Bill, on Tom Shula, I think is up there.
Don Shula.
Don Shula. So, I mean, there's records legitimately within reach for Big Red. And I think the biggest thing, which he would tell you, and what Clark Hunt told, was that he's legitimate. He's having fun. He's enjoying himself. And, I mean, heck, how couldn't you with all the success that the Chiefs have been having over the last few years? And I don't think that's going to stop.
Don Shula has 328 victories. Andy Reid is in fourth all-time.
Is Landry up there?
273. Tom Landry, 5.
Okay.
So, and that's career wins. So he's not – did you say he's at 300, Andy Reid?
300 was the Texans game, so he's at 301 now after the Bills game.
This must be way behind then. I was just looking on Wikipedia. It hasn't been updated yet. Well, Bill Belichick is 302, third place.
So I wonder if this one isn't including postseason wins potentially.
Maybe.
Because I think Bill has more than that with all the postseason success.
You might be right. You might be right. It is regular season wins. You're right, so my bad.
But yeah, that's good news for Chiefs fans. As long as you have Andy Reid there and Patrick Mahomes, you always feel like they're going to be competing for a Super Bowl title. Another thing that Mahomes talked about was on the legacy he wants to leave behind for this specific team after the game on Sunday this morning.
I just want to be remembered as one of the greatest teams of all time at the end of the day, and I know how blessed I am to be in Kansas City and the people that I have around me, coaches and players, and so I'm more focused on leaving the imprint on the Kansas City Chiefs and how we are remembered for the rest of the time.
I think that's one of the biggest things. It's how this team is staying motivated after 2 consecutive Super Bowl runs and wins and all the success that has been in this condensed amount of time. And they're still finding ways to motivate themselves. I mean, this is history that they are trying to accomplish this Sunday. It'd be the only three-peat ever. It'd cement them as the best team of all time in terms of a 3-year run. It's never been done before. And I think it's for them to be able to continue to motivate themselves. Like, it's easy for me to sit back and say, yeah, it'd be easy for me to want to go win another Super Bowl. But, like, I think trying to put yourself in their shoes they've played a full season plus over the last 5 years for some of those big guys, and for them to continue to want to win these type of games and put themselves in this kind of situation, it's definitely encouraging as a Chiefs fan to see that they're continuing to want to do this and set a new path for the NFL. My favorite part of Media Day over the last couple of days was Jameis Winston. I don't know if you saw, there were some clips on X, and he was running around the Superdome asking some questions. He talked to a few Chiefs and Eagles players, and one of them was a conversation with Coach Reid. I'll play that clip real quick.
Okay. Coach, man, I'm honored to grow up during this time, to see you coaching in multiple Super Bowls for my favorite team and now for the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, I hope I can play for you one day.
So you heard it here first. Jameis Winston going to be the backup for the Chiefs next year. He was literally passing out red cookies it was just in the shape of a W. He threw one at Coach Reid that Andy did catch. It was a pretty nice snag, a hands catch. He threw a couple at Travis. One of them was knocked down. He made a comment about he often throws interceptions, so that was a pretty funny quip. And Chris Jones as well. And he talked about seeing Andy Reid in his famous punt, pass, and kick I don't know if you've seen that when
sure.
Andy's he's towering over everyone else on the field.
Seems like it's on every other TV broadcast.
Yeah, especially back in the day when the Chiefs were really starting to have that presence on the late night games. And Reed said, "I wish I could throw it as good as you," talking about Jameis. I thought that was a pretty good interaction. And then my favorite interaction of the entire day was DeAndre Hopkins talking about what's going to be his Super Bowl outfit and the emotions behind that.
My dad died in 1992, and he left me a couple things, and one of the things that he left me was a mink jacket. And so I always said I would wear that mink jacket to my wedding and to the Super Bowl, whichever one happened first.
It's a little tough to understand because he's not
bit.
mic'd up. He was talking about his dad, who passed away in 1992, gave him a couple of things. One of them was a mink jacket. And DeAndre always told himself that he was going to wear either at his wedding or a Super Bowl appearance, whichever came first. He's not married yet, so he's going to be wearing that to the Super Bowl on Sunday. I thought that was really cool. I think DeAndre Hopkins is one of the more feel-good stories of this game, especially for the Chiefs. When you have so many players on this team who have won a Super Bowl, Hopkins has never appeared in a Super Bowl. He hadn't even gone to an or to a championship game. And for him, he's been in the league so long. He's gone through so many years of not great quarterback play. He's had a couple of good quarterbacks. Deshaun, when he pre-incident Deshaun, he had Kyler Murray for a year or two, but never. I mean, you look at Will Levis this past year, and just all the situations he's been through. I want to see the Chiefs get a ring, but also just as an NFL fan, would love to see DeAndre get a ring because of what he's brought to the NFL over the past decade plus. Such a good receiver, and also just seems like such a genuinely good dude as well.
Yeah, Hopkins has had his season ended multiple times by the Kansas City Chiefs, and watching them go play for AFC championships and Super Bowls, and I think he was a Cardinal for a little while, I guess, but yeah, you're right. Not the best teams he's played on. Yeah, that is a pretty good feel-good story. What is he, in year 12?
He's up there, and I was seeing his relationship with his mom, who's blind, and getting to share all those experiences with her. It's been really cool to see, and you can see how much it's meant to Hopkins throughout this run. There was the game against the Buccaneers earlier in the season where it was just a regular season game. He had a couple of touchdowns, and you could see him getting visibly emotional after the game. That's how much it means to him. And I definitely want to see the Chiefs get a win. Yes, for the team, but also for DeAndre, because that's been such a cool story.
All right, let's take our final time out of the show. We'll have a Cole Super Bowl 59 update tomorrow at the same time. But let's go ahead and take our last break. As Ask Us Anything, we'll wrap it up next.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the game.
You, my friend, are in the game on News Radio KMAN.
At the game!
The Trust Company is an independent, locally owned wealth management and investment company founded right here in Manhattan in 1992. The experienced professionals at the Trust Company are recruited specifically for their financial, legal, accounting, and business expertise. They're also your neighbors who, guided by your hopes and dreams, will continue to deeply understand your aspirations and goals. The Trust Company, locally owned, client-focused. Our only allegiance is to you. Visit thetrustco.com.
Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show comes to your radio every Friday morning at 10 a.m. We will discuss timely gardening and landscape topics to help you keep your lawn and garden in tip-top shape. Blueville Nursery has been your local landscape service and garden store for over 50 years, and we want to share our time-tested techniques with you. From vegetable gardening, spring and summer annuals, to shade trees and lawn care, we'll cover it all. You're welcome to call into the show to ask questions that apply to your own landscape or garden. Stay tuned to Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. right here on News Radio KMAN.
Suicide is often a silent struggle, but no one has to face it alone. If you or someone you love is feeling hopeless, remember, there is help and there is hope. Reaching out is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage. Together, we can turn pain into healing and despair into strength. Help is always available. Visit Pawnee Mental Health's Crisis Stabilization Unit at 1558 Hayes Drive or call our crisis hotline at 1-800-609-2002. Both available 24/7. You don't have to face this alone. Help is just a call away.
Get your morning started with KMAN's Morning News.
Coming up on Wednesday morning's edition, we look back at the City Commission meeting. Another adjustment expected for a development in Aggieville when they meet on Tuesday night. In sports, the K-State men on the hardwood against Arizona State. It's a late-night affair. We'll have the rundown for you on Wednesday morning. Also, previewing K-State's women's basketball tilt against TCU, a battle of the Big 12 leaders, coming up Wednesday night.
KMAN's Morning News, weekday mornings, 6 to 9 on News Radio KMAN.
Mitch, I got an interesting one just right out of the gate. And this isn't even necessarily like a question for you specifically, but just why do they call them donut holes? Why are they called donut holes? They're not holes.
Oh, you're talking. Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
Like the little donut balls, basically, is what they are. Why do they call? Why donut holes? They're solid. You know.
That's a great question. We should call our local donut expert and get an answer on that. We got to solve that sooner or later. It's like, why are these called holes? Well, maybe a donut expert would know. You would think they would.
We might need to get into contact with some local businesses and see if we can come up with the answer.
Well, what else would you call it, though? Donut balls?
I think you could. I think you could run into some issues with that. I think is maybe the reason you'd run away from maybe like donut orbs. Tell me that doesn't sound way cooler than donut holes.
I don't want to eat there. Trying too hard.
That's fair. Maybe donut spheres.
Again.
Just trying too hard. A little outside of the donut comfort zone.
Whoever picked donut holes was probably the right way to go.
I'm thinking, I'm just piecing it together. It's because it's the holes in the donut.
Well, yeah, it's like if you were to take a hole punch and
then there's the
punch
donut
out
holes.
Wait, you were like legit asking? You didn't know?
I didn't put it together until right now.
Oh man, I thought I was just trying to play along.
I'm learning more. You know how like the Dan Patrick Show does the what did you learn today? I learned that it just took a little bit to click in my head that donut holes are the holes of the donut. The more you know.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were kind of playing around. Okay. You have another question?
Yeah. Would you rather eat overcooked noodles or undercooked noodles?
So if they're undercooked, they maybe have a tad bit of a crunch to it.
They would be cooked enough to you're not eating plain noodles, but they're just a little chewy.
And then overcooked, it's just mush, right?
Yeah.
Give me undercooked.
I think that's the right call.
I need a little integrity in my noodles or my shells or whatever.
Al dente is for sure the way to go, but I think you're right. I think under is better than overcooked.
And is there a cool word like al dente for overcooked noodles?
Let's find out. I'll do some quick research.
I mean, there's your answer right there. If it doesn't have a cool name or a cool word associated with it, it's not right. If a French guy said, there's no word for this in our language, or Italian, if there's no cool word in our language for this,
I'm not seeing anything.
Don't bother.
On my very quick looking into it on Google, I'm not seeing much.
Overcooked or undercooked?
I think undercooked is probably the right choice for a lot of foods. Although you get into like food safety issues with overcooked, and then you kind of have to go that route.
I have a question for you.
All right.
And I'm not trying to get you in trouble here, but on K-Rock, they were asking this question, and I think it's always fun answers. It's like a first date type of question. Do you remember your first celebrity crush?
First celebrity crush.
I've answered it many times. Julianne Margulies, who was on ER at the time, and then the Pink Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was just a smoke show.
I think
still is.
Probably going back to like Disney Channel days, probably like Zendaya.
Oh, she still is like everybody's. May not be there first, but it's like a whole bunch of people still like maybe younger than me, maybe my age. Like Zendaya is like super popular.
Yeah, and yeah.
Well, she was on that HBO show Euphoria, and that's like that show just provided dozens of celebrity crushes.
That's true.
Well, that's going to wrap it up. Again, a reminder, we have pregame coverage at 8, tipping off at 9. The Cats taking on the Arizona State Sun Devils from Tempe, Arizona. We'll have, of course, a recap. We'll talk with K-State Online. Hopefully, Mitch Holtis will be able to join us from New Orleans as well tomorrow. For Cole, I'm Mitch. Go Cats.
When severe weather strikes,
tornado has now been confirmed.
We strike back with the information you need to stay safe. KMAN, Manhattan. This is SportsCenter.
I'm Nick DeLuca. Good night of hoops, college, and NBA. In the NBA, the Sixers and Mavericks set for tip in a few minutes. Philly star Joel Embiid making his return to the court for the first time in a month today. 2023 NBA MVP has not played since January 4th. He's averaged 24 points and 8 rebounds across 13 games this season. New Dallas acquisition Anthony Davis, still out with an ab strain, says he's excited to get going in Dallas.
Obviously excitement. Nico believes in me, what I can add to this team. I don't know about everything that we talked about out there, but we're both, extremely excited about what we can do, and I think we have a great opportunity to win championship.
Davis coming over in that shocking trade with Luka Doncic. The Mavs come in to tonight a couple of games over 500 at 26-24, currently in the 8th spot in the Western Conference. The Sixers enter tonight's game 1 game behind the Bulls for the 10th and final play-in spot in the Eastern Conference. Top 15 matchup at Madison Square Garden tonight, with first in the Big East on the line. Number 11 Marquette and number 12 St. John's. Red Storm have won 8 in a row and now 10-1 in the Big East. Marquette looking to bounce back from their loss last time out to UConn. Marquette leading 18-16, 8.5 minutes to go in the first half. Chase Ross leading the way with 3 for the Golden Eagles. Kadari Richmond has a St. John's high 8. They're favored by 2.5.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Wednesday. As we get you ready for the big game, I'll tell you some of the storylines I'm paying most attention to early in the game. It's Unsportsmanlike, weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Florida. To Dallas, Texas.
I'm ready for
How about them Cowboys? To you. This is Amber and Ian on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and on SiriusXM Channel 80.
Luka, Anthony Davis, shocking. World is set on fire. Can we talk about the plot to Blue Lagoon, the 1980 film, Ian? Because that is the rabbit hole that somehow Ian and James Steele tossed me into right before we got on air. And I am reading about this movie. And there's a lot of math in here that ain't mathin'. There's a lot of plot lines in here that look a lot different in 2025 than I imagine they did in 1980. I realize that we're having a conversation that's 44 years late. Nevertheless, what is happening when I'm looking at this Wikipedia?
Organically, this happened when I was referring to an issue that my youngest daughter is dealing with a high school dance coming up. And I don't know how it morphed into child actors and actresses, and how Drew Barrymore and Brooke Shields came out halfway normal. And the next thing you know, Amber Wilson is doing a deep dive into the movie Blue Lagoon, which really launched Brooke Shields onto the national stage at the age of like 15 or 16 in 1980. And Amber and I went to our producer, James Steele, going, is there any way we can start just talking about how awkward this whole thing is? And he's like, absolutely not. And what does my girl Amber Wilson do?
Just launch right into it.
That's
because
why I love you,
here's the deal.
kid.
Right before we go on air, like 10 seconds before, so we go to programming so you people can't hear me, I learned that Brooke Shields was only 14 years old in that movie. 14
James
years
was
old
close.
in that movie.
I said
a lot
18.
of nudity.
He said 15.
However, here's the thing. There was a 32-year-old stunt double that did all of her nude scenes. So all the nudity you're seeing is actually a 32-year-old woman, not the 14-year-old who was playing.
I was 8 when that movie came out, so I don't really remember all the nude scenes and whatnot.
Very weird. She's apparently hooking up with her cousin. That's the entire plot line to the movie, which that in and
They're
of itself.
abandoned on an island if you haven't seen it. It's actually a really good movie. I went back and watched it like maybe, 15 years after it came out. But the bottom line is this, that you can equate a lot of things to the movie Blue Lagoon. We can tie in Luka and Anthony Davis in some form of fashion
As shocking as I just found the
Right.
plot of Blue Lagoon
Yeah,
in 2025.
Hooking up with a cousin, jaw